Hello, hello. So let's talk about the astrology of the month of July. There's some really important things actually going on during this month that are really interesting. Could be really good, could be really difficult, kind of depends on how it's hitting your chart. But we already had Saturn station retrograde yesterday, Saturday, the 29th, and that is in Pisces. Pisces is all about the unseen, right? This is your dreams, it is your hopes, the things that your intuition, all the things that you can't really see materially in front of you. And Saturn retrograde there, it can be very karmic, whether it's in a good way or a bad way. It's also about lies and manipulation, gaslighting, sneaky behavior as well. So we're going to see a lot of karma being handed out for sneaky type behaviors and lying and manipulating. But we're also going to see karmic rewards for putting in the work towards making your dreams a reality. When Saturn is retrograde, we're also looking inward, right? And Pisces is a very emotional sign, so we're really going to be working on our emotional selves and finding our emotional strength within ourselves as well. Then on July 2nd, July 2nd is almost like it's a big boom, but not nearly as much of a big boom as we have later in the month. But on the 2nd, Neptune stations retrograde. Now when Neptune is retrograde, it lifts the fog, removes the rose-colored glasses, it reveals everything, it makes everything very clear. If your intuition's kind of been poking at you at something, this is where you're really going to see it clearly. And again, it is in Pisces as well, so we have the same kind of themes as what we're getting with that Saturn retrograde. Now, the last time both of these two were retrograde in Pisces was last summer, but we also had a lot of other stuff going on last summer as well, with Venus retrograde in Leo and the North Node moving into Aries. But now we're more on a better path of where we want to be individually and in a better place of self-value. Things are going to be a little different this time. There's going to be a lot more standing up for yourself. There's going to be a lot more listening to that intuition. And there's going to be a lot more karma for folks that still attempt to double down on their shady behavior as well. And I actually did see a lot of that last time when everything went direct. A lot of people just doubled down on what they were getting caught in before. So keep that in mind. All of that's going to come out over these next few months. But again, on the 2nd, Neptune stations retrograde. And then that morning, Mercury moves into Leo. So the conversations that start happening around this, things coming out, things becoming clear, could get a little dramatic. You'll see Leo type of energy going from being childlike and fun and creative to more childish and petty and look at me type of energy once things start becoming very clear and people start, quite honestly, Leo's a little bit of a feelers type of energy, but it's fiery about it. So you're going to see a lot of dramatic conversation around things that are being revealed. The moon will also move into Gemini that day as well. So there's going to be a lot of communication, a lot of people wanting to talk about what's going on and getting angry if you don't want to have the conversation or you try to avoid the conversation. Mercury will trine Neptune right before it moves into Leo. So this is early in the morning. It enters Leo at 6:50 a.m. here Mountain Time. It's Tuesday, so if you go to work early, you might see this big boost of intuition, ahas, I suddenly know everything, right before that Mercury moves into Leo and things get very dramatic. We'll also have Venus in a trine to Saturn retrograde, right? So your interactions with other people could be a little wild on the 2nd, a little rough. And we're also going to have the sun in a square to the nodes. So there's a lot of, do I let it go? Do I do what I'm supposed to do and move forward for myself? Do I try to fix this? Just watch out for the 2nd. It's going to be a rough day that day. A lot going on that day. And then on the 3rd, Mercury will oppose Pluto. So this is a lot of power struggles and communications. You're going to find a lot of people pushing back. Remember, Pluto is also retrograde in Aquarius, so it's already digging up secrets about people around you. Okay, and there's going to be a lot of people attempting to gaslight against what's coming out. So really just be aware of that. There's going to be a lot of power struggles there and a lot of difficulty on the mind as well. You could have like hit kind of a bit of a depression with that. On July 5th, we have the Cancer new moon. Love the Cancer new moon. It's a new beginning. It's a time to set your intentions for something new. With Cancer, it's family, it's intuition, it's wanting to maybe have more empathy and compassion for others. So just keep that in mind. Mars will also be in a sextile to Saturn retrograde on that day. So there's really this opportunity to set intentions for moving forward with a more compassionate mindset and being more understanding of people. Then on the 11th, Venus will be moving into Leo, and the very next day it'll be opposing Pluto. This is going to be kind of that same dynamic of those power struggles and intensity and kind of almost a depressing type of energy. But this time it's all about your relationships, your closest friendships, the way you interact with others, your money, your values. You could really find some pushback if you're trying to stand up for yourself and say what you value, or really if you're even trying to stand up for your own self-value, you might find some pushback on that. So just be aware that that could happen there in the middle of the month. Here's where things get spicy. On July 15th, Mars will conjunct Uranus at 26 degrees of Taurus. This is the fixed star algol that is associated with losing one's head. That is both figuratively and literally. Be very careful. There could be accidents with like sharp objects, shooting accidents, intentional shootings and attacks. This is one of those moments where like somebody who's been trying to say something or do something, or maybe they're just, kind of strung out or really irritated and angry, and it's just all built up. This is where they snap. Okay. This is where you'll see people really just like lose it. They'll start yelling, they'll start screaming, even physical attacks are a different possibility here as well. So really be careful that day. We're also going to have Mercury in a quincunx with that Saturn retrograde, which really gives me this feeling of somebody catching karma for something that they've done, and their mind just kind of snaps because they don't want to take accountability for their own behavior, right? They don't want to admit that they're getting karma because of themselves, right? So they just kind of snap. So really be careful that day. And the very next day, Mercury will actually enter its shadow period. It'll hit 21 degrees of Leo, and that's the degree that it'll come back to once it stations retrograde in August. So anything from that point on, from the 16th on, you may end up having to come back and review over the next couple of months as well. On the 20th, Mars will enter Gemini. And if people weren't running their mouth enough yet, they will be then. Okay, so everybody will have something to say. I really feel like over these next few weeks, we're going to see a lot of anger bubbling up because of things becoming revealed, because of people not being willing to accept their own consequences of their own actions type of things. There's going to be like this buildup of anger, but because Mars is currently in Taurus, that anger doesn't really go very far. But as soon as it enters Gemini on the 20th, that's when you're going to see a lot of arguments, a lot of people yelling and screaming and all that good stuff, especially because Mercury will still be in Leo. So there's a lot of dramatic conversation. There's a lot of people in kind of a little bit of a selfish mindset when it comes to being in the more negative side. Now remember, Mercury in Leo can also be very loving and creative and fun type of energy as well. It can be childlike instead of childish. So really make sure that you're consciously working on that during this time, because otherwise a lot of stuff is going to likely get to you during this time. On the 21st, we have our second Capricorn full moon. We already had one last week, or about a little over a week ago, on the 21st of June. We're going to have one on the 21st of July at 29 degrees of Capricorn. This is actually closing out a karmic cycle. So 29 degrees is the very last degree of a sign. It is a symbol of closing out a cycle. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and of course Saturn is stationed retrograde right between these two full moons. So something is likely to be revealed to you there of how to close out a karmic cycle, and it could show up in a very karmic way. So just be aware of that and see like where it lands in your chart, if and how you might navigate that when that closing of that cycle might show up. And then on the 22nd, the sun will move into Leo, and the first thing it does is it opposes Pluto. So that first day of Leo season could be a bit intense. Again, more power struggles, more ego battles, more just kind of almost a feeling of alone and heaviness. Again, though, Pluto is retrograde, so it could even be enlightening, right? Like you could more see things be revealed. Those secrets that are being dug up by Pluto could actually free you of something. Like so it could give you an opportunity to move forward with something else. But that's the gist of July. It's a little difficult, but you can work with it as long as you are prepared for the karmic lessons that may come along during this time.